pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host of the program, otherwise known as NETMA. I'm your host, Tyler Falk. Glad to have you on a Wednesday edition of NETMA. And if you read the title, if you've read the notification, the NETMA server Discord, link to which is down below in the description, you can head over to the NETMA server Discord and get a notification when the show's live. But as you probably have read from the title, we are not talking end-of-season recap today. I pushed that to tomorrow and Friday for the last two shows of the week. I'll split up all 6 divisions, 3 divisions a day to talk about how each team did. But today, we are going to talk about Louisiana's free agency. For those that don't know, I am the agent, quote-unquote, for Mike Ryan, free safety over in Louisiana. And things happen. Things happen. The offseason happens. We lose players. We go out and get people in free agency. We draft players. Normal free agency stuff, right? Well, things have gotten kind of, I wouldn't say interesting. I would say to be expected, right? As far as free agency goes, there are going to be players who we know are going to be leaving the organization. Some players like B. Robo, who after being on the fence about it, decided to test free agency after having a career season or a good season with Louisiana, and we wish him all the best. And same to everybody who's leaving Louisiana in the offseason. And what I really want to talk about yesterday, if you've heard me kind of stuttering, saying that's all we're going to talk about yesterday, is because I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. I wanted to say what's going on in the locker room. I wanted to say what's really happening, right about after a certain post came out from a certain media outlet, otherwise known as SFL in the Know. According to them, Louisiana's front office keeps butting heads with and losing key leaders. First, there was the Pickler breakup, then came Twinsky, yada, yada, yada. You can all read it on the right-hand side of this, or for you, it'd probably be the left-hand side of the screen. For me, it's on my right. Anywho, so this comes out from SFL in the Know yesterday, right? And there's a lot to me that's saying, I want to talk about this, but Baltimore's on. It should be a happy show. It should be a show where we talk to Baltimore, get their feelings, get their initial reactions, or, well, semi-simmered down reactions to them winning a championship. That's what that show was all about. So today I want to talk about this. Talk about what SFL in the Know has for a certain aspect correct, and for what they have completely dead wrong. And that's what I want to talk about, is the style that they want to portray of journalism, which they have every right to. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? I Just Want to Talk. On that episode, we talked about where the SFL wants to go with their journalism, with what they want to do, right? A lot of you reached back out to me and said, it'd be better if we were continue to be a small town feel where we just talk about things and maybe not go into too much controversy, right? And SFL in the Know wants to get down and dirty. They want to be controversial, and they want to have all this nitty gritty, juicy details that may or may not be right, or maybe may have half truths to them rather than a full truth. And you have to take that style of journalism with a grain of salt, right? You have to understand that these people are chasing a headline. They want your reaction. They want to get you to say things, to say that, oh, that's absurd. Louisiana is a terrible organization. Or in the case of, Kendra Hall and her situation, of course, the former co-host of NETMA, that she's probably going to Lone Star because that's where her husband is. That's where Nate is, right? Nate and Kendra were at one point on the same team up in Vancouver. Nate decides to go down to Lone Star and set roots there. Well, Kendra decided to stay in Vancouver for another season. Well, now that she's out in Vancouver testing free agency, it's up to journalists to, of course, speculate where she's going. There have been some things said about her in Gen Chat, which I think are completely inappropriate, disrespectful, and flat out just nasty stuff, which I didn't expect from this community. I'm not going to go into detail about it here because she's already having a terrible day as it is. She's dealing with some migraines. I was able to talk with her today just to, do a wellness check, see how she's doing. But let's go back to the whole SFL in the Know thing. They've got a couple of things, right? This Pickler situation, obviously not an ideal situation for the two companies to part. And the Twinsker situation, I don't know a whole lot about that situation, to be honest, so I don't know. But this situation involving Garrison Blue, I was able to talk to a few individuals about it, more specifically the owner, Gerald Smith, GM Ross Napoli, Coach Brian Craven, about what's really going on. From their point of view, I've yet to contact Frank Wade, aka Garrison Blue, at this point. Of course, as we all saw in player content, he had a very long conversation with Canton over this past 24 hours, and so I wasn't able to reach out to him. But in due course, I'll get his side of the story from this as well. But from what I was told by the three individuals, the main triad in Louisiana, the OC, head coach, owner, and GM and co-owner, I should say, is Garrison wants Mike Dagg's numbers. He wants to be the focal point of your offense, right? And to each their own. I am perfectly fine with trying to get a player to have more stats if it's in the best interest of the organization. From what I was told by those individuals respectively is we had plays in the playbook to get him the ball. In our sims, he was getting the football. Unfortunately, we cannot dictate how the game progresses on the field. We can put the plays in there. Unfortunately, it doesn't get into his hands. He did have more receptions this past season than he did last season. Garrison Blue's numbers in respective to season 17, he had 9 more receptions from 26 to 35, had 100 less yards, was getting a lot more short yardage catches, had 6 less touchdowns, only had a single touchdown this entire season, which is very unfortunate for Mr. Wade. But he was targeted at least 10 more times than he was last season. Now, if we compare that to Mike Daggs, who, again, season 15, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think he was Offensive Player of the Year. If I remember my SFL history correctly. Mike Daggs had the best season for a tight end in league history. 13,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, targeted over 100 times. Last 3 seasons, he's averaged right around 550 yards, right around 45, 46 receptions a season from season 16 to season 18, and was targeted right around 60 times. So the game plan in Mexico City is to get the two best friends the ball, right? Matt Wilson to Mike Daggs, hashtag throw it to the tight end, right? Well, Garrison Blue, aka Frank Wade, wants that too. And the only real difference between season 17 and season 18 was Louisiana with a 2-back system, which only primarily affected the run game, right? Louisiana's backfield was up for consideration as unit of the season. All 3 running backs got an average of about 4.2, first time in league history, right? So the biggest concern, and to be honest, is if you're going to say that that's taking away from Garrison Blue's production, not really, because again, like I said, he was targeted more. He got 10 more receptions. That's about average, right? For Garrison Blue. Or that was better than season 17. So if he wants to go to a place that's going to get him the football more, that's perfectly fine. If you would rather play for yourself than for a team, that's perfectly fine, in my opinion. Though there's a reason why I have Kurt Russell's quote of Herb Brooks playing at each and every beginning of my show. There's a reason why that's part of the opening package. It's because, I'm a homer from Minnesota, and Herb Brooks is, in my opinion, the best coach that ever played hockey, and the best coach in Minnesota history. But it speaks to who I believe and what I believe a player should be, right? You play for the crest. If you're a soccer fan, you play for your crest. You play for the team on the front, not the name on the back. That's how we win championships. That's how most teams win championships. Find me a team that's playing for one singular goal and that's winning a championship versus a team that's playing for 23 different goals and still trying to win a championship. Tell me which team is going to have a more focused, a more direct approach. I think it's that one goal, one mindset, teammate. So I'm not saying what Garrison Blue did is wrong, and he shouldn't think that way. I personally believe it the other way around, but to each their own. If that's what he wants to do, if that's how he feels he should be, that's A-okay. I am fine with him playing that way. He can go to a team that feels that way, right? We want to win a championship here in Louisiana. That's what all 24, now 28 teams want to do at the end of the day. From Portland to Baltimore, the end of the season goal is to be in the championship game and taking home a championship. If that's not the main goal of each franchise, you're mistaking yourselves. So back to SFL in the Know and what they do, right? How they report. I have no quarrel. I have no concern with how SFL in the Know goes about producing their content and going about how they dictate their stories and how they come up with them and how they gather them. I have no concerns about that anymore. What I do have concerns with, if they're going to be this hard on a couple of individuals and a couple of teams, they have to have that journalist integrity and be just as hard on each and every other single team. If there's some biased reporting that goes on with this organization, then it starts to become, for instance, Vancouver in the know, or Atlanta in the know, or, right? It becomes more so an organization or those people's point rather than them claiming to be an SFL media outlet otherwise known as SFL in the know, right? They need to report on everything and everyone if they're going to be this hard on a particular couple of teams and people. So again, that's my only concern with SFL in the know. They can go about how they report however they want. They can talk about whoever they want. They can be just as hard as that. They can even go on their Twitter page and post something about me. They can run me through the gutter if they want. That's their prerogative. If they want to reach out to me for comment, I will gladly reach back out to them and respond to them with a comment. So I'm okay with SFL in the know. I have no quarrel with them. Let them say what they want. Because at the end of the day, Louisiana's locker room is fantastic. We are one big family. We have Leonard Butler Sr. who comes up with riddles week in, week out for us to have fun and try and figure out. And most of the time, they're funny. We have a fantastic locker room. We joke around with each other. We tell each other what's going on. We check up on one another, seeing how we're doing. When I was dealing with a possible wildfire and maybe had to evacuate, the first people I told was Louisiana because they're like my brothers to me. Knowing that I have 2 younger sisters and no brothers in my immediate family. So I treat them like my family because that's who I think they are. There is no headbutting in that locker room whatsoever. So go for, I encourage us to phone the no. Do what you want to do. Say what you want to say. It's not my way or the highway. It's never been that way. So that is going to do it tonight for this edition of the program. The end of season wrap-up shows continue tomorrow with division recap. Starting with, we'll probably go East Coast to West Coast, probably starting with the North Division. So look forward to that. We'll probably go North, Atlantic, and East Divisions tomorrow, and we'll hit up the West, South, and Pacific on Friday. So we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the program. And until then, everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.